I am the laughingstock of the entire cultivation world. Yet, my younger sister possesses the supreme bone, a super genius, but she never despised me. On the contrary, she silently protected me for over a decade. She even joined the ethereal immortal sect to obtain cultivation resources for me. However, no one knew that. I hold the templates of 99 genius powerhouses from myriad worlds. As long as I activate these templates, I can gain the abilities of the corresponding powerhouses. However, to activate the first template, it requires an enormous amount of energy. This is why I have been labeled a waste for over 10 years. Fortunately, over the years, with the cultivation resources my sister sent, I finally awakened the first template today. It is the Lin Dong template from the Wu Dong Qiankun world. But just as I was celebrating having the ability to protect my sister at last, I received news of my sister being killed. At this moment, as I was feeling the rapid progress of my cultivation, a woman's voice came from outside my room. This voice was very familiar to me. It was my only friend in the Mingyan sect, Juge Linglong. I heard Juge Linglong's urgent shouts outside, raised my hand, and waved my robe to open the ancient redwood door. "You sister is dead." Juge Linglong rushed in hurriedly as soon as the door opened. Seeing the door open, Juge Linglong immediately ran inside in a hurry. Upon hearing Juge Linglong's words, I was stunned. After a moment, I regained my composure and said to Juge Linglong seriously, "Linglong, this joke is not funny. Who's joking with you? I'm telling you the truth." Juge Linglong, seeing my disbelief, quickly explained the situation. It turned out Juge Linglong had just returned from the ethereal immortal sect. Being the eldest daughter of the Juge family, she received VIP treatment at the ethereal immortal sect. This also allowed Juge Linglong to hear some incredible secrets. The current sect leader of the ethereal immortal sect, Qin Tianming, had actually stepped into the immortal platform realm. More importantly, Qin Tianming's breakthrough was not achieved on his own. He sacrificed Lin Yue, whom he had accepted as a personal disciple years ago, and transplanted her supreme bone into himself. Qin Tianming used Lin Yue's supreme bone to forcefully elevate himself to the immortal platform realm. Calm down! Ethereal immortal sect is rooted in the upper realm. The sect has tens of thousands of disciples in the Huilsi realm, not to mention numerous powerhouses in the Four Extremes Secret Realm and Dragon Transformation Realm. Qin Tianming, having taken your sister's supreme bone, has reached the immortal platform realm. He's not someone you can contend with right now. After saying all this, Juge Linglong saw my eyes turn blood red. Trembling all over, the aura around me solidified, and the terrifying spiritual power instantly obliterated the entire house. I ignored Juge Linglong's attempts to calm me. My sister was brutally killed, her bone stolen. How could I possibly stay calm? The next second, I vanished right before Juge Linglong's eyes. At this moment, I cut through the thick clouds at an incredible speed, leaving behind spatial cracks wherever I passed. My destination was the ethereal immortal sect. Didn't he just open the Sea of Bitterness? Juge Linglong, staring in disbelief at my disappearing figure, stood there with her mouth agape. The aura I gave off just now was not that of someone who had just opened the Sea of Bitterness, but of someone at the peak of the third level of the Four Extremes Secret Realm. Yet even with the strength of the peak of the third level of the Four Extremes Secret Realm, it was sheer madness to confront the ethereal immortal sect head-on. I need to find my father. With this thought, Juge Linglong hurried towards another direction of the Mingyan sect. Meanwhile, I used the Taiji soaring step to fly through the void. Qin Tianming, I will kill you. At this moment, I roared with blood-red eyes. Although I had not yet perfectly fused with the template, my strength had already reached the peak of the third level of the Four Extremes Secret Realm. Relying on various martial arts, I am confident I can battle a Dragon Transformation Realm expert. Qin Tianming had just stepped from the Dragon Transformation Realm to the Immortal Platform Realm. At this moment, his realm was clearly unstable. I knew now was the best chance to kill Qin Tianming. In the blink of an eye, a sect built amidst thousands of mountains appeared before me. This was the ethereal immortal sect. Looking at the sect in front of me, my intent to kill grew even stronger. Qin Tianming, get out here! Flying above the ethereal immortal sect, I shouted angrily downwards. As I spoke, I raised my hand and formed a seal. In an instant, dark clouds churned in the sky. A terrifying wave of spiritual power tore the plains below the sect apart. Countless astonished gazes watched as a massive forefinger broke through the clouds, pressing down towards the sect. Desolate prison heaven finger. A finger that could split the heavens and the earth. The enormous finger, solidified by spiritual power, shrouded the entire world in darkness. Facing such a terrifying celestial phenomenon, everyone's faces showed a trace of fear. Which junior dares to insult our sect master in the ethereal immortal sect, simply courting death? Staring at the sky-covering finger, an old man in white flew out from the hall of the ethereal immortal sect. He stood in front of me, his eyes filled with disdain. Who dares to come here? If you withdraw your martial arts immediately, leaving an arm behind will settle today's matter. Otherwise, you will not leave here alive today. At this moment, the current sect master Qin Tianming was in seclusion, stabilizing his foundation. The ethereal immortal sect did not want to provoke any further trouble. I completely ignored the old man's words. Raising my hand, I pressed the desolate prison heaven finger down with force. As the desolate prison heaven finger descended, the clouds surrounding the ethereal immortal sect instantly dispersed. Countless spatial rifts opened. For a moment, panic spread within the ethereal immortal sect. A peak 3rd level for extreme secret realm dares to cause trouble at the ethereal immortal sect? You must be tired of living. Feeling my cultivation level, the old man's aura surged. He revealed the strength of the peak 1st level dragon transformation realm. Heavenly profound cloud extinguishing palm. Standing in the void, the old man struck out with his palm. A massive hand formed from azure spiritual power crashed directly towards the finger. In just an instant, the azure hand was pierced through by the finger. The old man didn't even have time to react before being pressed down onto the ethereal immortal sect's protective array by the desolate prison heaven finger. The ethereal immortal sect had long gathered its members inside, not knowing how many years it had been. Since such a sight was seen. The sect was filled with people. No one had ever dared to attack the ethereal immortal sect alone. Destroy! With this single word from my mouth, the peak 1st level dragon transformation realm elder instantly turned to nothingness and vanished. 2 fingers shatter mountains and rivers. I knew that a single desolate prison heaven finger would not be enough to break through the ethereal immortal sect's protective array. So I quickly performed the 2nd finger of the desolate prison heaven finger. In an instant, the sound of space shattering echoed. In this sound, 3 pitch-black giant fingers, even thicker than the previous ones, tore through the sky. They then fiercely shot towards the protective array of the ethereal immortal sect. At the moment of impact, the ground instantly trembled. The entire ethereal immortal sect began to shake violently. With the fall force of the 2nd finger, the protective array of the ethereal immortal sect was directly shattered. The resulting storm ravaged the ground, instantly destroying half of the ethereal immortal sect. Countless people perished in the aftermath of these 2 fingers. Seeing this scene, I immediately flew towards the main hall of the ethereal immortal sect. There I sensed the presence of my sister, Lin Yue. Intruder, stop! Do not enter our main hall. Just as I was about to fly into the main hall, -1 beams of spiritual power shot towards me from the floating peaks surrounding the ethereal immortal sect. These were none other than the elders of the 8 peaks of the ethereal immortal sect. Their strength was all at the peak of the 3rd layer of the transforming dragon secret realm. Blocked, my eyes turned blood red, glaring at the 5 men and giant woman before me. A surge of murderous intent flooded my mind once more. I had just managed to sense my sister's presence. How dare you 8 beasts stop me? What of the third layer of the transforming dragon's secret realm? I'll crush you just the same. Be careful, everyone. This guy is not to be underestimated. When he just killed Old Su, he was only at the peak of the third layer of the Four Extremes secret realm, but now he seems to be breaking through to the fourth layer. Looking at the few people before me, I didn't hesitate. I immediately summoned the ancient sky scale halberd. This halberd was almost a high-grade spirit treasure. Watch out! Seeing the ancient sky scale halberd suddenly appear in my hand, one of the stunning women among the 8 elders of the misty immortal sect narrowed her eyes. As the beautiful woman's voice fell, weapons appeared in the hands of the 8 elders of the misty immortal sect. These were all high-grade spirit treasures, rarities even in the lower realms. Sky scale halberd technique. Facing the siege of the 8 elders, my expression did not change in the slightest. I shook the ancient sky scale halberd in my hand, and a dark golden light formed at the tip of the halberd. When it collided with the weapons of the 8 elders, sparks flew. An astonishing shockwave burst out from the point of impact. What tremendous spiritual power! He truly is only at the peak of the third level of the Four Extremes secret realm. I don't believe that even with the combined efforts of us 8 elders, we can't capture him. The weapons of the 9 clashed, creating a deadlock. The Grand Hall's doors of the immortal sect quivered as space itself trembled. A large-scale rupture began. Seeing the stalemate, I immediately swung the ancient halberd in my hand. With powerful arm strength, I forced the 8 elders of the immortal sect back. Then, raising my hand, I once again executed the great wilderness imprisoning heaven finger. A massive index finger, as thick as 100 feet, tore through the heavy black clouds descending from the void. The remaining disciples of the immortal sect and the 8 elders looked up at the finger that blocked out the sky, all feeling a tingling sensation on their scalps. Such martial arts could already be considered top tier in the lower realm. Even in the upper realm, it would be exceptionally formidable. Disciples, heed my command. Form the immortal cloud annihilation formation. After a moment's pause, an elder with a long beard shouted at the disciples. On the 8 peaks of the immortal sect, this immortal cloud annihilation formation was their lower realm's ultimate defensive formation. It could withstand attacks and simultaneously combine the strength of everyone within the formation to launch counterattacks. Once this formation was activated, even a peak 4th level dragon transformation expert would meet their end within it. Hearing the resounding voice of the 8 elders echo throughout the immortal sect, countless disciples of the immortal sect responded in unison. Moments later, threads of colored energy began to seep from above the disciples' heads. Endless streams of colored mist almost covering the entire sky. It perfectly trapped my great wilderness imprisoning heaven finger in midair. Everyone, I will lead the formation. If we do not slay Sha today, our immortal sect will have no face in the lower realm. Seeing the formation rapidly take shape, the long-bearded elder frowned and said to everyone. Then he flashed into the sea of clouds in the void. Upon hearing this, all 8 elders of the immortal sect simultaneously formed hand seals, and with the movements of their hand seals, moments later, a giant blue and white energy sphere condensed before the long-bearded elder. Seeing this, a fierce glint flashed in the elder's eyes. With a swift wave of his sleeve, the energy sphere, which had gathered the power of all the disciples of the immortal sect, shot towards me. Great wilderness imprisoning heaven finger, stuck in midair, was directly crushed by the power emitted from the formation. Such a nuisance, like a swarm of flies, I muttered as I looked at the blue-colored energy sphere flying towards me. I was growing impatient. These people were wasting too much time. If Qin Qianming fully merged and adapted to the Supreme Bone, it would be more challenging for me to slay Qin Qianming today. I feared it would become quite difficult. In the next moment, my scarlet eyes suddenly widened, and my spiritual power exploded entirely. Azure Sky Dragon Transformation Art. Immovable Azure Dragon Bell. With my shout, my whole body erupted with azure light. Quickly, blue dragon scales appeared on my skin, and soon my entire body was covered with scales. The azure glow around me transformed into a massive azure dragon bell hundreds of feet tall. The blue and white energy sphere struck the azure dragon bell, producing a deep, resonant sound. Everyone's vision blurred for a moment, as the weaker disciples disintegrated under the shockwave of the collision. This Lin Yi is no weakling, able to single-handedly force the combined might of the 8 elders of the immortal sect. Meanwhile, on the other side, a middle-aged man in a Taoist robe stood with one hand behind his back, stepping on a crescent moon disk, intently watching the battle of the immortal sect. Though I don't know how Lin Yi achieved such cultivation. To fight against so many people already takes all his strength. When Qin Qianming joins the fray, Lin Yi will likely be unable to escape his fate. "Father, please save him when the time comes," said Zhuge Linglong, frowning beside the middle-aged man in the Taoist robe. This man was Zhuge Linglong's father, the head of the Zhuge family from the lower realm. His cultivation was at the peak of the 4th level of the Dragon Transformation realm. If Qin Qianming was still at the peak of the 4th level of the Dragon Transformation realm, perhaps he could have shown some respect. But times have changed. Qin Qianming has already broken through to the Celestial Platform realm. This respect, I fear, Qin Qianming won't show to your father. Hearing his daughter's words, Zhuge Chen was momentarily troubled. What should we do then? I can't just watch Lin Yi die in this immortal sect. Worrying appeared on Zhuge Linglong's face. Let me calculate for Lin Yi, Zhuge Chen said without wasting words. His fingers quickly moved in front of him, and he closed his eyes to begin his calculations. Brother Zhuge, you're here to watch the excitement too, huh? No one knew how much time passed, but as Zhuge Chen opened his eyes from his calculations, a fresh and vigorous voice came from behind him. Turning his head, Zhuge Chen saw a crowd of people had gathered behind him at some point. Zhuge Chen knew that every notable sect from the lower realm had come. Meanwhile, I took on the full force of the immortal sect's grand formation once again, then wielded the ancient halberd to slaughter wantonly within the immortal sect. I raised my hand to block an attack from one of the 8 elders of the sect, and directly severed one of his arms. Looking at the fallen arm before me, I felt a cold satisfaction. The air was filled with the screams of one of the 8 elders of the immortal sect. I forcefully smashed the ancient halberd into the ground, supporting the halberd with one hand. My breath had already become somewhat erratic. Fighting for so long, my spiritual power was already excessively depleted. The scales brought by the Azure Sky Dragon transformation art had long since faded due to the lack of spiritual power, leaving only the greenish skin. Everyone, keep pushing, hold on. This boy is at his limit. One of the 8 elders controlling the grand formation shouted loudly to the disciples of the immortal sect. Hearing their words, I gritted my teeth against the pain and stood up straight once more. I had killed countless disciples and severely injured one of the 8 elders. Breaking the formation now should be easier than before. Let's use that move. I slowly closed my eyes. Facing the incoming blue and white energy sphere, I remained unmoved. No particularly strong fluctuations emerged around me. This appearance made many frown. This strike is no simple matter. Even a peak 4th level dragon transformation expert would find it difficult to withstand. Without powerful techniques, I ignored their murmurs. As they spoke, a gray line appeared at the center of my forehead. The gray line on my forehead expanded and contracted with time, as if something was about to be born from it. This will be the decisive move. Lin Yi might not even be able to surpass the 8 elders of the immortal sect, let alone face Qin Qianming. But even if Lin Yi is defeated today, it will be an honorable defeat. In the distance, Zhuge Chen couldn't help but sigh. Such a young hero. If this man doesn't die today, he will become a legend throughout the lower realm. A middle-aged man in green clothes stroked his beard and chuckled. "Father!" Zhuge Linglong looked at the scene, quickly flew to Zhuge Chen's side, and tugged at his sleeve. Seeing this, Zhuge Chen's mouth twitched slightly. He doted on his daughter the most. She had never asked him for anything before, but today she was willing to ask for Lin Yi's sake. It seemed his daughter's heart was already set. With a slight sigh, Zhuge Chen summoned the moon yang disc to hover in front of him. The sect leaders and elders of many lower realm sects were stunned by this scene. "Brother Zhuge, are you going to save this young man?" An elder in black stepped forward and asked Zhuge Chen. "My daughter rarely asks for anything, so I can't let her down," Zhuge Chen said with a helpless smile. The moon yang disc in front of Zhuge Chen spun rapidly. The energies of the moon and sun enveloping the surrounding area. Everyone simultaneously felt the immense power of Zhuge Chen. But just as he was about to launch his attack, he suddenly stopped. Amid the crowd's confusion, Zhuge Chen explained the reason. "At this moment, the gray line on my forehead began to writhe rapidly, a trace of sinister energy emanating from it. This energy spread towards my eyes. Just as the sinister energy was about to invade my eyes, a gentle white light emerged, directly absorbing the sinister energy. At this moment, deep in my forehead, an ancient stone talisman floated quietly, emitting a faint, serene aura. Beneath the ancient stone talisman, a bizarre mist spread, and within the gray mist, a strange gray eyeball floated quietly. The eyeball was filled with eerie white threads, ancient malevolent energy swirling within. However, whenever this malevolent energy tried to surge out, the ancient stone talisman above would ripple with its serene aura, suppressing it completely. At this moment, a sudden thought radiated from within. The stone talisman suppressing the gray eyeball slightly relaxed. As soon as the talisman's suppression eased, the malevolent energy within the gray eyeball erupted completely. At the same time, countless blue and white spiral spheres flew towards me. The moment my eyes opened, the gray line on my forehead bizarrely split open, transforming into a gray triangular eyeball. As soon as the gray eye appeared, the space around me twisted sharply, a terrifying energy wave spreading out. The desolate demon eye. In the instant the desolate demon eye manifested, my cultivation rapidly soared to the first level of the dragon transformation realm. Simultaneously, a gray beam of light shot from the gray eye, colliding with the countless blue and white spiral spheres. The gray beam directly pierced through the blue energy spheres. After breaking through these attacks, I used the gray beam to massacre countless disciples of the immortal sect. Then, with a swift movement, I vanished from my original spot, reappearing in front of the person controlling the formation. Without any hesitation, I swung the ancient halberd in my hand, directly severing his head. The grand formation shattered. Countless disciples of the immortal sect perished, and the 8 elders were grievously injured by the backlash. At this moment, they no longer had any ability to counterattack against me. With a bizarre footwork, I wandered around, while the 8 elders of the immortal sect were in shock. I had already severed the heads of 7 of the elders. Then I walked towards the last elder, raising the ancient halberd high with one hand, and fiercely swung it down on the final elder. The last elder, an exceptionally beautiful woman, exclaimed, "You have destroyed our immortal sect to such a state." Just as the ancient halberd was about to smash onto the beautiful woman's head, a voice echoed from within the grand hall, followed by an overwhelming pressure bursting forth from the hall. The ripples from this pressure alone sent me flying backward. A beam of light shot up from within the immortal hall, piercing through the newly formed, heavy black clouds in the sky. "Sister!" I felt my sister's presence within this energy. With bloodshot eyes, I glared at the man within the beam of light. The man was dressed in white. His eyes seemed to contain countless Taoist laws. "Master, save me!" The beautiful woman cried out to the man within the beam of light. The man within the beam was none other than Qin Qianming, the current sect master of the immortal sect in the lower realm. The 8 elders of the immortal sect were defeated by a single dragon. A cultivator at the first level of the secret realm did this to you. I truly don't see the point of having you in the immortal sect. Qin Qianming, clad in white, flashed a cold glance. With a single thought, he crushed the beautiful woman into nothingness. Everyone present was shocked. They hadn't expected Qin Qianming to attack the last elder of the immortal sect first. Instead of me, the immortal sect has no need for the weak. I can now easily cultivate existences far stronger than you. Qin Qianming murmured these words, and the next second, he appeared in front of me. With his hands behind his back, he walked slowly in front of me. Your aura is very familiar, like that of my eldest disciple, Lin Yue. She seemed to have an elder brother. At this point, Qin Qianming paused, then continued. You wouldn't happen to be her brother, would you? Looking at Qin Qianming in white before me, my grip on the ancient halberd tightened, making cracking sounds. The previously depleted spiritual power surged back, and I swung the ancient halberd, unleashing a slash. Golden power rippled through the void, and then I used the supreme sky walking step, aiming for Qin Qianming's vital points. Seeing this halberd that could casually tear through space, Qin Qianming merely glanced lightly at the attack, without even raising his hand. Relying solely on his spiritual power defense, he blocked the attack. The clash of spiritual power and the ancient halberd sent shockwaves around. Even the spectators far away were forced to retreat repeatedly from the impact. This halberd is quite a decent weapon, ranking among the best in the lower realm. Qin Qianming smiled, and with a burst of spiritual power, a radius of 100 miles was reduced to nothingness. I was sent flying backward for miles by the shockwave. In the instant I was airborne, Qin Qianming's figure appeared before me. His lips curved slightly, and he slowly uttered a few words. Heavenly void cloud annihilation palm. Countless spatial cracks split open. A massive cloud-like palm flew out from Qin Qianming's hand. Seeing this, I hurriedly placed the ancient halberd in front of me, and gathered all my strength to perform the Azure Sky Dragon transformation art. Blue scales appeared on my skin once again, with a dragon's roar resonating. 100-foot-tall azure dragon bell formed around me. The cloud-like palm collided with my immovable azure dragon bell, and in an instant, my immovable azure dragon bell shattered. I was in disbelief, unable to react quickly enough to use other martial arts. The cloud-like palm pressed directly onto my body. With a cracking sound, the ancient halberd in front of me shattered into nothingness. Then I plummeted rapidly from the sky, falling into the deep mountains, 10,000 miles away from the immortal sect. Still alive, I see. Qin Qianming flashed and appeared before me. You really are quite similar to Lin Yue. When her bones were being extracted, she was just as hard to kill as you. Hearing this, my eyes blazed with rage. In the next second, a pitch-black stone talisman appeared before me. As soon as this black talisman appeared, the spiritual energy of the world transformed into giant mist-like spiritual serpents that surged towards me. The spiritual power in my body, which had been nearly depleted, quickly became full again. In just an instant, I used the devouring ancestral talisman to absorb a vast amount of spiritual energy, raising my cultivation from the first level to the peak of the third level of the dragon transformation realm. Seeing this, Qin Qianming's eyes in the distance flashed with a peculiar light. This black stone gave Qin Qianming a sense of mystery. If he could obtain such a heavenly treasure, his strength would surely rise to another level. Thinking this, greed flashed in Qin Qianming's eyes. Without hesitation, he quickly formed hand seals before him. Soon, the sky drastically changed, as if the entire sky split open. You siblings are truly giving me great gifts. First, the Supreme Bone helped me ascend to the celestial platform realm. Now, you bring me this wondrous treasure. Qin Tianming's spiritual power condensed towards the void, finally forming a 1,000-foot-tall phantom of Qin Tianming in the sky. Qin Tianming, today I will surely kill you. To avenge my sister's death. Having recovered to peak condition using the devouring ancestral talisman, I stood bare-chested, my blood-red eyes glaring angrily at Qin Tianming's giant phantom. If you have the guts, come and try. Hearing Qin Tianming's words, I waved my hand and summoned the ancient halberd once more. The broken halberd rapidly fused together, under my restoration, once again bursting with dazzling golden light. Using the supreme sky walking step, I flashed and stood in the sky. Qin Tianming and I faced each other from a great distance. In an instant, the air was filled with murderous intent. Who do you think will win? Someone among the spectators asked, breaking the silence. I have a feeling this young man might be able to use his lower-level cultivation to defeat Qin Tianming, the half-step great power. Leaders of various lower realm sects continued to discuss, hoping for a favorable outcome. Don't lose! Zhuge Linglong squinted her eyes, filled with worrying. At this moment, I wielded the ancient halberd and slashed fiercely. A massive, unstoppable slash, headed towards Qin Tianming's spiritual phantom. With a thunderous sound, my slash cut Qin Tianming's spiritual phantom in half. Impressive strength, kid. If I had your cultivation, I wouldn't stand a chance against a half-step great power. Saying this, Qin Tianming kicked me, sending me flying backward. As I flew back, a gray beam erupted from my forehead. The desolate energy-filled beam shot at Qin Tianming's chest. Even though Qin Tianming had reached half-step great power, he felt a sharp pain in his chest, just as the gray beam was about to pierce through him. A dark yellow bone swiftly emerged from his chest. The supreme bone. Glaring at the bone, my hatred for Qin Tianming intensified. Immediately, I released my power, propelled myself with a single foot in the air, and madly charged towards Qin Tianming. I really have to thank your sister. If it weren't for her supreme bone, I might have been seriously injured just now. Qin Tianming stood in the air with a mocking expression. The supreme bone formed an extremely powerful defense in front of him. To die under your sister's supreme bone, wouldn't you consider it an honorable death? As he spoke, Qin Tianming raised his hand and began forming seals. At that moment, the supreme bone started to move. This movement was not random. Qin Tianming was about to use the ability inherent in the supreme bone. Supreme Art. Reincarnation Secret Technique. With Qin Tianming's soft shout, a rain of dense runes flew towards me. Facing the incoming runes, I didn't hesitate. Using the supreme sky walking step, I dodged the first wave of attacks, then raised the ancient halberd to block. But the runes spread all over the halberd. In just an instant, the ancient halberd turned to ashes and dissipated. This is the law of time, capable of manipulating the power of ages. Facing such attacks and techniques, I knew I couldn't confront Qin Tianming head-on. If I got hit by those strange runes, my body would rapidly decay. Don't run! Weren't you here to find your sister? Her supreme bone is right here. Why are you avoiding it? Standing high in the void, Qin Tianming chuckled, then raised his hand to summon the runes to continue attacking me. The rune speed increased, and I had to use the supreme sky walking step more frequently. I can't keep running like this. I looked back at Qin Tianming in the void and stopped running. Immediately, the runes imbued with the law of time enveloped my body. My flesh quickly began to decay. Have you given up and accepted your fate? Seeing me now aged and withered, a look of surprise flashed in Qin Tianming's eyes. He couldn't believe that I was the type to suddenly give up, as Qin Tianming had expected. Just as the thought crossed his mind, my figure disappeared from its original spot. When I reappeared, I was already behind Qin Tianming. At the same time, 3 ancestral talismans appeared around me, rotating constantly. One of these ancestral talismans was very familiar to Qin Tianming. It was the treasure he had been coveting earlier. The other 2 talismans' powers were unknown to Qin Tianming. but he sensed the forces of space and terrifying life and death within them. Devouring ancestral talisman. Devouring chains. As my voice fell, a spinning black hole suddenly appeared in the sky. Black chains covering the sky shot out, moving so fast. They almost instantly appeared above Qin Qianming's head, then violently stabbed towards him. Facing these black chains, formed from the power of devouring, Qin Qianming found himself under a ferocious attack. Qin Qianming attempted to use the power of the Supreme Bone for defense, but the moment the Supreme Bone's power came into contact with the devouring force, it rapidly dissipated at a visible speed. Seeing that his defense was futile, Qin Qianming turned and fled without hesitation. "Qin Qianming, don't run!" I shouted loudly, but my voice was now aged and deep. My body, due to lack of vitality, was covered in cracks. I quickly summoned the ancestral talisman beside me. As this talisman was summoned, cracks on my body temporarily stopped spreading. This was the power of the life and death ancestral talisman. However, the life and death ancestral talisman was not omnipotent. To fully recover, I needed to seize the Supreme Bone and use its time lost to heal myself. At this moment, by overdrawing my life force, I barely reached the celestial platform realm. As long as our cultivation levels were close, killing Qin Qianming would be as easy as turning my hand. Devouring vortex prison. I raised my withered, aged arm, and the devouring chains that had been whistling around Qin Qianming suddenly stopped. Black light dispersed, forming a spinning black hole vortex, trapping Qin Qianming within. Qin Qianming's entire body was suddenly immobilized by the devouring force from all directions. Damn it! This bizarre scene caused Qin Qianming's face to change drastically. No matter how he channeled his spiritual power, his body remained completely still. Seeing this, Qin Qianming had no choice but to once again summon the Supreme Bone with his mind. The Supreme Bone floated above Qin Qianming's head. At this moment, Qin Qianming didn't care about the devouring ancestral talisman. Absorbing the spiritual power from the Supreme Bone, he increased his mental and spiritual power, causing the runes from the Supreme Bone to reappear. The ancient runes emerged in the void, continuously rotating around Qin Qianming. Eventually, they forcefully engraved themselves into the black vortex. The black vortex, inscribed with the Time Law runes, began to show signs of disintegration. Seeing this, I immediately summoned the space ancestral talisman beside me, forcibly sealing the space around Qin Qianming. Now, Qin Qianming could not escape from this spatial lock for a while. I looked at the trapped Qin Qianming, and my eyes were filled with killing intent. Raising my withered, aged arm slowly, I clenched my fist, and a stone filled with the power of thunder suddenly appeared in my hand. It was the thunder ancestral talisman. I raised my hand and sent the thunder ancestral talisman into the sky. In the next second, the previously calm layers of clouds suddenly thickened, and then visibly rolled into pitch-black thunderclouds. The terrifying power of thunder spread out. "It's over!" The cracks on my body were increasing, and I felt that I had to kill Qin Qianming immediately, or even the life and death ancestral talisman wouldn't be able to sustain me. "Even if you kill me today, so what? Your sister's death is a fact. Can you bring her back to life?" Feeling the astonishing fluctuations in the heavens and earth, Qin Qianming knew he couldn't escape today. He decided to taunt me relentlessly as his final act. Listening to Qin Qianming's words, I felt as if my heart was being pierced by needles. My breathing became heavier, and the cracks on my body deepened further. Seeing this, I said no more. The lightning in my right eye suddenly intensified. Judgment of thunder. As my words fell, the lightning in the thunder clouds condensed into a massive spear. It then shot straight towards Qin Qianming. At this moment, Qin Qianming's face was filled with horror as he watched the rapidly approaching lightning spear in his eyes. He felt an overwhelming sense of death. "You can't kill me. If you kill me, you'll be marked. The immortal sect in the upper realm won't let you go." Facing imminent death, Qin Qianming finally couldn't hold on any longer. Then I'll just kill them all when the time comes. From the moment you killed my sister and took her bone, I never intended to spare the entire immortal sect. As the massive lightning spear fully filled Qin Qianming's pupils, in just a breath it killed him. Under the assault of the thunder ancestral talisman, even his soul was obliterated. As Qin Qianming met his end, a bone floated in the void. It was my sister's supreme bone. Seeing the bone, I raised my hand and summoned it to my palm. With the supreme bone in hand, I harnessed the power of time laws. My withered muscles gradually filled out, and the cracks on my body swiftly closed. Looking at the supreme bone, far larger than my own palm, tears I could no longer control streamed from my eyes. In my anguish, I suddenly thought of something. Gripping the supreme bone tightly in my hand, there might be no way in the lower realm, but surely there is a way in the upper realm to revive my sister. Thinking this, I raised my hand and stored my sister's supreme bone into my spatial storage. Then I turned my gaze towards the remnants of the immortal sect, which had floated several thousand miles away. My sister's body was still not recovered. Just as I was about to use the space ancestral talisman to transfer myself there, I suddenly felt a pair of eyes staring at me, and I knew this gaze very well. It was far more terrifying than Qin Qianming and myself combined. An invisible pressure spread throughout the heavens and earth. Who? I shouted into the air, defeating a half-step great power at the peak of the third level of the dragon transformation realm. It's rare to see such a prodigy from the lower realm. Just as my words fell, a voice suddenly sounded. Hearing the voice, I began searching around, but I couldn't see anyone. No need to look for me. I am in the upper realm. I am only speaking to you through an avatar. With your mere peak third level dragon transformation cultivation, finding me is impossible. I'm not a waste like Qin Qianming. The voice carried a hint of hostility. Hearing this person mention Qin Qianming, my killing intent intensified. I asked the air, "What is your relationship with Qin Qianming? Are you from the immortal sect of the upper realm?" "That's right. I am from the immortal sect in the upper realm." The unseen figure admitted his identity without further explanation. "Kid, you killed Qin Qianming and destroyed the roots of our immortal sect in the lower realm." A surge of rage and danger filled the air as the voice continued. "Our immortal sect will not let you go," said the voice. At the moment Qin Qianming died, a mark unique to our immortal sect was placed on you. From now on, every disciple of the immortal sect will relentlessly hunt you until your final demise. Enjoy your last days. As the final words fell, I sensed the gaze weakening, indicating that the person was preparing to leave. But I couldn't let him leave so easily. In the moment when his presence was at its weakest, I activated the thunder ancestral talisman still in the void. In an instant, a deafening sound erupted, and a silver thunder dragon rapidly materialized. With the help of the space ancestral talisman, I directed it to strike fiercely in the direction I had locked onto. The space ancestral talisman successfully opened a space rift in the sky, and the thunder dragon disappeared into it. At the moment the thunder dragon vanished, a thunderous scream echoed in my ears. Following the scream, the figure of the person became visible. He flickered in the void, the lightning on his body quickly dissipating, and his figure began to blur. No matter how avatars are created, they are made of spiritual power and soul. As long as it involves the soul, then lightning is a natural nemesis. Lightning is the most effective method. I watched the fading figure in the void, my eyes filled with killing intent. Another thunder dragon formed and flew towards the figure. Anything related to the immortal sect must die. Wait for it. I will ascend to the upper realm and kill all of you. The thunderous roar echoed through the heavens, and amidst the blinding light, the space began to collapse. The figure vanished without a sound, dissipating into the heavens and earth. Meanwhile, in a palace at the center of the upper realm's immortal sect, a young man suddenly opened his eyes, spitting out a mouthful of blood. A look of malice flashed in his eyes. Good boy, I will remember you. Don't let me encounter you in the upper realm. On the other side, after I killed the avatar of the person from the upper realm, I retrieved the Thunder Ancestral Talisman from the void. Then, using the power of the Space Ancestral Talisman, I arrived at the ruined Grand Hall of the Immortal Sect. Sensing my sister Lin Yue's presence, I walked slowly towards the side hall with heavy steps. Seeing the seals and forbiddance arrangements at the entrance of the side hall, I raised my hand and removed them. Then I stepped inside. I took in every detail of the scene within the side hall, observing my surroundings carefully. Finally, my gaze locked onto the woman, floating in the center of the side hall. Her eyes were tightly shut, and there was a bloody hole in her chest. I rushed forward, gently taking the floating Lin Yue into my arms. Seeing my sister's face so close, my heart ached so much I could hardly breathe. I'm sorry, sister. I came too late. Meanwhile, the leaders of the major sects in the lower realm remained silent. The lower realm's immortal sect had been destroyed. The newly ascended half-step great power, Qin Tianming, had been killed by an unknown young man. They couldn't believe it was only a cultivator at the peak of the 3rd level of the dragon transformation realm. This boy actually did it. Zhuge Chen murmured softly with his hands behind his back. Zhuge Linglong, whose heart had been in her throat, finally felt relieved. But she also felt a sense of confusion, wondering how I possessed such strength. Stop looking! It's over! Come back with me. Zhuge Chen, seeing Zhuge Linglong deep in thought, called out to her, then turned and walked away. Zhuge Linglong nodded at her father's words and followed him to leave. At that moment, high in the sky, Master, this boy is indeed interesting. To be able to kill Qin Tianming with such low cultivation. Even though Qin Tianming had the supreme bone, it was difficult for me to defeat him. A young girl in a black dress said to the woman beside her, who was a head taller. Both women were dressed in black. Standing there, even the space in the void seemed to be frozen. This showed that their strength was terrifyingly powerful. The woman, referred to as Master by the girl, spoke. If this boy doesn't die young, his achievements will be significant. He could at least reach the Saint Realm, but unfortunately, he has offended the Immortal Sect. The woman said to the girl in black, the Immortal Sect's power in the upper realm is also very formidable. Although it doesn't compare to our Dark Demon Valley, killing a young boy from the lower realm who hasn't grown up yet is as easy as flipping a hand. Let's hope we hear more of this boy's legend in the upper realm. The woman's cold face showed a slight smile, and then her body disappeared from the spot. The girl in black looked around after the woman left, not in a hurry to leave, but sneaking away into the distance. I stayed in the side hall of the Immortal Sect for 7 days and nights. Until the 8th day, I held my sister, carrying her body towards the outside. I walked with my sister in my arms for a long time. Finally leaving the Immortal Sect behind, we walked into the town, ignoring the many curious glances from ordinary people along the way. We kept walking until we reached the place where we spent our childhood. Then I stopped. I chose a cave in the back mountain, placing my sister's body on a stone bed inside the cave. This was a place we often played when we were children. You Wei, rest here peacefully. I will avenge you. Anyone related to the Immortal Sect will be eradicated. As I spoke, I gently stroked Lin Yue's cheek. As I scanned her body, I noticed something tightly clenched in her palm. What could be so important that my sister would hold on to it even in death? With tears in my eyes, I opened her hand. Seeing what was inside, my guilt deepened. It was an exquisite refining creation pill, which Lin Yue had obtained from Qin Tianming to improve her aptitude. It was because of this pill that Lin Yue fell into Qin Tianming's trap and was ultimately killed. Silently, I took the pill from her hand. I stored the pill in my spatial storage, and then took out my sister's supreme bone. I carefully placed it back into my sister's body. As the supreme bone touched Lin Yue's body, the life and death ancestral talisman flew out from my chest. With a rich aura of life and death under my control, the supreme bone quickly merged back into Lin Yue's body. With the supreme bone inside her body, would never decay. After doing this, another ancestral talisman flew out from my body. As this talisman appeared, the temperature in the cave suddenly dropped. A terrifying chill swept through the entire cave. I controlled the cold air to form an icy coffin, and then placed my sister's body inside. Finally, I sealed the cave entrance with ice, and left a formation in the air above. This formation was created using all the ancestral talismans I had. In the lower realm, no one could approach it. After finishing everything, I turned to leave. At that moment, a voice suddenly sounded. This formation is indeed advanced. Even an ordinary half-step great power at the celestial platform realm would be unable to break it. Hearing this, I looked in the direction of the voice. I saw a beautiful young girl in a black dress standing there. The girl gave me the same powerful feeling as Qin Tianming. "Who are you?" I asked, my spiritual power surging throughout my body. Not knowing the girl's intentions, I had to remain vigilant. If necessary, I wouldn't hesitate to kill another half-step great power at the celestial platform realm. Seeing my reaction, the girl quickly raised her hands and said, "My name is Chen Luoi. I mean no harm. Please don't attack me. I can't defeat you, even if you mean no harm. You've seen things you shouldn't have seen. I can't let you live." A golden light flashed in my palm, and the ancient halberd, which had been destroyed by the time laws, reappeared in my hand. I had restored it using the time laws from my sister's supreme bone. Seeing this, Chen Lui's face showed panic. She quickly gathered her spiritual power to defend herself and said, "If you don't want to know how to revive your sister, then I'll leave." As she spoke, black spiritual power surged around her, and with a palm strike, she broke through the space, pushing me back temporarily. I took the strike head-on and retreated. Hearing Chen Lui's words, I quickly shouted, "Do you have a way to revive my sister?" "I believe there's a way in this world. There is a way to save your sister. Although I might unlock these abilities in the future, if I can revive my sister sooner, I don't want to delay." The items you need are the 6 paths reincarnation fruit, the Severin sword, the 9-colored divine clay, the summoning token, and the life and death moon yang pill. If you can gather these items and reach the 6th level of the celestial platform realm, the Great Saint cultivation, you will be able to revive your sister 100%. Listening to Chen Lui's words, my frown deepened. I had never heard of these items before. They probably aren't from the lower realm. Do you know where these items are? I turned my gaze back to the girl in front of me, originally thinking she would have conditions for telling me this information. Unexpectedly, Chen Luoi generously shared everything she knew. The 6 paths reincarnation fruit grows on the 6 paths reincarnation tree, and this tree is located in the abyss of lost souls. It's not easy to obtain. You need to reach the Great Saint level to have a chance. The 9-colored divine clay is in the hands of the Heavenly Repair sect. It is their sect's treasure. However, due to their decline, it was stolen by a mysterious strongman 3,000 years ago. This mysterious strongman hid the 9-colored divine clay in a secret realm. This realm opens once every 500 years, and it should open around this time. As for the summoning token, it's in the soul-devouring hall. The life and death moon yang pill can only be perfectly refined by an alchemist of the 7th rank or higher. After Chen Luoi finished explaining everything she knew, I frowned and asked, "What about the Severin sword?" Chen Luoi blinked and said, "That item is in the hands of your old enemy, the Upper Realm's Immortal Sect. If my information is correct, it should be enshrined in the Immortal Sect's Ancestral Hall." Hearing the words Immortal Sect, my eyes filled with killing intent. Why are you helping me? I voiced my suspicion. No particular reason. I just find you quite interesting. I'm tired of staying in the valley, so I wanted to find something to do. Chen Lui saw my disbelieving expression and was about to explain further, but I raised my hand to stop her. I don't have time for your lengthy explanations. I'll verify these things myself. If you don't want to die, stay with me during this period. If I find anything suspicious, I'll kill you on the spot. With that, a golden light flashed in my palm. The ancient halberd disappeared from my hand. Chen Lui stared at my back, stunned. She swallowed her words of explanation. Just moments ago, she had been thinking of the most reasonable way to stay by my side. Chen Lui never imagined it would be this simple. When can we go to the upper realm? I asked directly. There is only one upper realm, but there are numerous lower realms. So you need a guide to reach the upper realm. It was clear that my guide would be Chen Lui. We have roots in the upper realm, so with a single thought, we can return there instantly. But if I am to take you, we must go to the Ascension Gate in the lower realm. Chen Lui thought for a moment and replied, the Ascension Gate is the path for anyone from the lower realm who wishes to go to the upper realm. Not only must you be extremely powerful, but you also need an introduction from someone in the upper realm. Both conditions are indispensable. Where is the Ascension Gate? I asked directly. In the extreme northern lands. As she spoke, Chen Lui felt a chilling cold all over her body. The scene before her eyes changed rapidly. In just a breath, I had taken Chen Lui across millions of miles. We had arrived at the extreme northern lands. Is this the work of those magical stones of yours? Chen Lui remarked, seeing me absorb another stone talisman into my body. Where is the Ascension Gate? I ignored Chen Lui's question. It's in the abyss of heaven in the extreme north. Follow me. Seeing that I didn't answer, Chen Lui didn't press further. Everyone has their own abilities and secrets, and Chen Lui had her own as well. Led by Chen Lui, I soon arrived at the abyss of heaven she had mentioned. It was a vast chasm in the extreme northern lands, stretching to the horizon with no end in sight. I stood at the edge looking down, feeling an inexplicable pull drawing me in. This is the abyss of heaven. In this abyss, there is an internal space. That space is the boundary between the lower and upper realms. If you can pass through that space, you will have successfully entered the upper realm. Let's not delay. We should go down now. Without hesitation, I flew down into the abyss. The ground within the abyss was covered in a thick layer of ice, with unfathomable darkness beneath it. Standing on the ice, Chen Lui said to me, now you need to walk, while channeling your spiritual power. As long as a part of our spiritual power overlaps with the space of the Ascension Gate, we can enter it. This is the only way to find that space. Of course, if your cultivation reaches the Quasi-Emperor realm, you could locate it directly with your divine sense. But we don't need to go that far. Hearing Chen Lui's words, I didn't hesitate. I took out the space ancestral talisman from my body and threw it into the center of the abyss. With the activation of spiritual power, extreme spatial fluctuations began to spread rapidly from the talisman. In an instant, spaces within the abyss started to shatter. Time passed minute by minute, and after about 3 hours, a spatial fluctuation from the space ancestral talisman connected with a spatial rift in the distance. As golden light erupted, the entire abyss was illuminated. Soon, a massive beam of light, 100 feet wide, shot up, peering directly before me. As this beam of light gradually expanded, it transformed into a majestic gate. This is the Ascension Gate. Entering here will take us to that space. Seeing the gate, Chen Lui immediately grabbed my hand and led me towards it. As we walked through the gate, it felt like traversing a tunnel through time and space. The surroundings changed instantly, and when I opened my eyes again, I found myself in a grand, resplendent hall. In this hall, there was a massive golden throne, upon which sat a dignified old man, his gaze profound,